we give who we are, right? The good and the bad. And I feel like we've spent a lot of time talking about maybe the stressful or the who we don't want to be part of our lives. But we all have greatness inside of us. We all have potential. We can all be who we want to be, who we dare to dream to be, if we give ourselves permission and if we focus on that. How do we get there? I have all these great ideas. I have all these ambitions. Sometimes it's money, right? That's our show. That's why we came together, because we want to talk about money. So if money is holding you back from being who you really want to be, so how do you fix it? What do you do?
That's a great question, isn't it? And I think it's a pretty simple answer, honestly. So generically, you just take that first step, and then another, and then another. But more importantly, we need to know what direction we're going, right? And that I think is a really where a financial coach or a life coach or a career coach, I mean, this is where a coach kind of lives as a value to anybody. And being coached as a coach is hugely valuable. I know we've both had those relationships, and I think you currently have a coach in your life that's helping you coach through career decisions, right? And goals.
Yes.
And goal setting, right? And how do we build goals? And you kind of alluded to this, so I'll say it now. But one of the things that I'm kind of known for saying is actions, which you've been talking about, that align with goals that are in support of your values. And if you can really figure that out, and to do it, you have to work the process backwards. But sometimes we can get kind of mixed up or slip up on moving backwards from the value perspective into the goals, because those are both visionary, right? Goals are a little bit more granular, but those action steps, those are real tangible things that you're going to do today, tomorrow, and the next day. And if you align them with the right goals, and those goals are supporting your values, they'll have the outcome that you desire. But if you're off just a little bit, right? Once you get all the way back down to that action step, if the angle is off just a little bit, if the aim isn't true, you'll end up 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now thinking you're moving in the right direction, and then looking back and realizing that you missed your target by 20 years, right? Or by 100 miles. And so it's really important to be revisiting those goals and those values. And I think a critical application to that is the idea of a individual and a family mission statement. Visions are usually a little easier to create for most people, but missions are more tangible. They're life expectations, they're parameters, they're guidelines that you live every day, that you walk as an example every day.
Yeah, I love that idea. And I know through our conversations, you've told me that's something that you and your wife have done for several years now.
Yeah.
And it's not something that I've ever done with my husband or even for myself. So you mentioned I have a coach. I absolutely do. I love all of the things that I am learning from her, the accountability that she's providing. It's really been very helpful, not only for me professionally, but for me personally as well. And to add something on top of that, earlier this year, kind of right after the new year kicked off, I went to a full day workshop. It was called Fired Up and Focused. And what I learned that day was exactly what you're talking about. So we created a vision and mission statement. And then we walked through the steps. Okay, well, now that we created it, how do we actually make it happen?
Right.
So the quote that you talk about with aligning and action and your values, that's what we did that entire day. So I can't even believe the value that I got out of it. It was eye-opening. What I really learned about myself that day, where I want to go, not only as a business professional, but as a wife and a mother, a community member. It all just became really crystal clear for me that day. And that's what a lot of times we get when working with somebody else, whether it's a mentor or having a conversation with a friend. Sometimes it's just the clarity that we need. And that's what I got out of those, having a coach and going to this workshop.
Two words stick out for me, Christine: clarity, which you just said, but the other one's accountability, right? And that, again, this could be the role of a coach. It could be the role of a friend. It could be the role of a family member. Maybe you're an accountability partner to somebody else, right? And so that can even bring clarity and accountability to your own life. One of the things that I had the opportunity to experience really for the first time is becoming a mentor. And that's not a role that I ever aspired to. It's not a role that I ever thought, growing up, you never think you're going to be somebody else's mentor. But along the road, there's all of a sudden this shift, and people are now watching you. And that created a tremendous amount of accountability on me, because all of a sudden there were people that were modeling their behaviors. Even though we weren't talking about this, they were watching and they were modeling their behaviors. And then later I found out because they reached out and they wanted to ask questions. And so my discipline, even though I was obviously not perfect and still am not perfect and never will be, and that's okay. I just try to be a little bit better each day, right? It's that idea of take one step and then take one more. Those behaviors, those examples that I created opportunities for me that I didn't know were coming. And all of that kind of culminated in an opportunity for me to eventually take on full-time financial coaching as a full-time gig. And again, that accountability, knowing that somebody was watching what I was doing, not in a
It's huge.
not in a weird way, not in a creepy way or a bad way, but in a really, really powerful way, right? Like, it was important to them to model some of their behaviors after my own. And that really, that kind of, it broke me a little bit. It shook me a little bit because, now there's people that want to become, at least in part, like me, and they're asking for my guidance, my advice, my mentorship. They want to partner with me.